Hello everyone, we are live tonight. We are gonna go to Suzuka. I was supposed to have a race, I'd say. Not race, like a practice session yesterday. But it was my birthday, took the day off. I had other things I wanna do. Talk to my family, stay with my wife. So yeah, that was a well thought decision. But the problem is tonight we have to get a good lap to show to our coach. So let's let's see let's see what we can do. People usually ask what's our reference lap looking like. So let's see here real quick. He did a 12, 212. Let's think about that. And he did send me his fast lap, which I'm gonna download now, and also the IBT file. So tonight we'll be able to use this whenever we want. So let me import it. Let's go to downloads. So it's here, but I won't be using it right now. I'll just leave it there. Okay, because I just came here to get a screenshot for us. I also put an active reset point after like a full lap. But this is truly gonna be like our first time going around this track. So Saturday we have a 6 hours off-road America, so stay tuned for that as well, okay? So I guess the fortune teller's right. So this is oopsie. Tires are still not there. Remember this car. We have to treat this car as we used to treat the M2. So for now, let's just remember how much it hates like hard brakings like this, right? We don't want to do that, upsets too much the car, or low gears. But it loves rotation. It's a car that absolutely loves rotation, so... I think this one deserves a lower gear. Okay. Too early, maybe. Not hard enough. I was thinking of, okay, I have to get a force feedback down a little bit, a tiny bit. I think like some cars I can do this flat. I don't think this car will be able to do not flat, like just a tiny lift. Not force gear for sure. Let's get a different reset point here. Trying to find, okay. Let's get a just a tiny bit less. No, right. So too much of a brake, a lift. We don't want to lift that much. Maybe no upshift here. Too much coasting. Too late. So there's a good level of abuse in the ABS. Here I'm gonna touch the brakes just slightly. Maybe a bit more, okay. I do think I need to go harder on the brakes. That's...
They say you cut the cord. You'll have to slow down and give up the time game.
Okay, let's start getting more comfortable. Getting hard on the brakes, okay? Again, so let's go back. Yeah, like I wanna... Let's see. Let's see what we can do here. I'm afraid of slowing down the car too much, so I'm either going too fast or not braking now. Those are the two things that are going on right now. See? Yeah, this was better. But I think it was still too much in the brakes for that corner.
New fast lap for you.
Was still not like a true fast lap because it was... we had some off tracks. Here I have to go on the brakes earlier. It's funny how this car likes sliding to the side. My hands hurt like that. You know? As if the wheel was too heavy, I don't know. Oops.
New fastest lap for you.
Okay, this was a fast lap. So we're 2.7 away. 2.8 away from the coach. Let's keep going. Early brake. Can carry more speed here likely. Go back on the brake, third gear. So this is the problem, like this corner, all we want is a very good exit here. Everything else, I mean not everything else, but that's the consistency we're looking for. Now we can brake even earlier, like here. This is the apex. There's just so much time to be gained in this hairpin. Okay. I'm gonna try a couple more times to get that like just with a lift, just maybe a tap and a lift, but I think I have to tap anyway, so. Yeah, this was complete garbage. Let's keep working on our fast laps here. Oops. Too early, point the wrong direction. The car is very also like sensitive in the rear. Maybe let's get the brake bias one touch back. I have to wait for a straight that I can see what's going on with the brake bias. Good, this is a good straight. 54. Here, I think it's just... I think it's more, like... Has to be a slightly harder brake there. I brought the brakes a tiny bit to the front tires, so if we can have better behavior on the back. Let's see here. The rear is a little bit less snappy, which is good. That's what we're looking for.
Gilher Maraujo KGMK said, Suzuka a BMW Vita Forte AITBM.
Cara, eu não sei, mas é uma pista com muita reta, né? Normalmente a BM, o Mustang são carros que gostam de pista assim. Eu gosto muito do Porschezinho, mas ele sofre muito em... Ele vai se dar bem lá no hairpin, vai se dar bem no S. Mas numa reta assim, normalmente, se você não tiver uma saída muito boa, ele te pune. Too late.
Gilher Maraujo KGMK said, Acabei de ganhar o top split das 2130, La M Road America.
Opa, excelente. Excelente. Qual que era a SOF? Eu corri uma só em Road America essa semana, terminei o oitavo, tô meio preguiçoso ultimamente, tem que treinar e correr mais.
Gilher Maraujo KGMK said, EUTBM Tenho 400 horas no Porsche Mas essa temporada tive KIRPRA BMW KK. Gilher Maraujo KGMK
Esse português com sotaque é foda, peraí, tem que ler.
25 KO Safi Ukori
tá
com
ótimo.
BC essa.
Ah, você ganha aqui? Não, você ganha agora, tá possível. Faz tempo que eu não ganho uma corrida.
Flightman said, Hey man.
Hello, hello, hello. Flightman. Flightman. Is that our favorite troll? That's our favorite troll, I'm pretty sure. Ah.
Flightman said, Gotta love Suzuka.
Você teve que ir pra BMW por quê? Se foi opção sua ou é time, coisa assim? I like it. I won't say love it. Like, it's where many of the Formula 1 World Championships in history were decided. So I do think there's like a cool vibe. But the track itself...
Gilher Maraujo KGMK said, Opko mesmo o Poski Tomuato Ruim Direta.
É. Eu acho que em pista que tem muita curva fechada assim, ó, vale a pena ter o Porsche, ele é muito bom. Mas Road America,
Allison Racing
isso aqui.
said, Hey man.
Hello sir, good to have you back here. Welcome, welcome, welcome back. We are suffering in Suzuka and talking to the chat in multiple languages right now.
Flightman said, "Are you going to race here too?" Allison Racing
Race in Suzuka
said,
next week.
"Conscuio bom resultado Road America."
Só corri uma vez. Only raced once in Road America, only Monday. Terça foi o dia da liga. Tuesday we had like the league night. And yesterday was my birthday, so I had a lot going on. And then I'm back today. I don't race more like Road America. I'm gonna do the 6 hours. Vou fazer 6 horas de Road America. Não sei se você conhece o careca no volante. Vou correr com ele e com a turma.
Guilherme Araújo KGMK said, "Allison BCK Toma DQ nessa Ultima." Allison Racing
Droga.
said, "Conheco Sim."
Careca é fera. Gente finíssima. Aqui vai
Allison
fazer
Racing said, "Sim."
Ha! Aconteceu? What happened?
Flightman said, "Alan, can you give a shout out to my wife's boyfriend? His name is
Stop it! No!
Aquarius."
No!
Allison
Stop
Racing
it! Stop it!
said, "No final da ultima volta o cara batu na manhatra sira e tome DQ."
Na terça-feira, na corrida da liga, na primeira corrida, eu tava no limite dos instant points.
Flightman
O cara veio, porrou atrás de
Certo.
mim.
Why not? He loves
Não
your
só
screen.
me ferrou, como também me obrigou a fazer um drive-thru. A raiva fodida. Because you're trolling me. Because you're trolling. Like this is a. We had this conversation before.
Allison Racing said, "EU tava chegando nos 3500 IRO kami ferro haha."
Cara, chegar no iRacing assim é ruim.
Said,
Porque você perde
"I
muito mais do
can't
que
race
ganha.
this weekend because my wife SBF is making me go on a stupid vacation with them."
Stop it.
Guilherme Araújo
Stop it.
KGMK said, "Na corrida de Argentino do dive de UNS 5 carros de distância e me pico chio bem no Apex NAT4."
Cara, eu fico puto com isso. Eu acho que, eu já falei isso, eu acho que a Racing tinha que ter uns. Tipo, esses instant points. Tinha que ter um damage no carro, tá ligado? E aí você pode acumular tanto de damage, tanto de instant points por hora. Que aí esses caras que ficam fazendo essas cagadas non-stop, eles destroem a corrida deles, mas
Guilherme Araújo
tomam um timeout
KGMK
assim.
said, "EUTBM to sofrendo PRA chegar nos 4K chego nos 37K EKO."
Tem que ter uma boa semana, porque o que acontece é você faz, porra, 3 corridas excepcionais, termina no pódio, ganha 15 de iRacing em cada corrida. Aí numa corrida, ganha um banana, destrói teu carro, aí tu despenca lá pra 100, perde 100 de iRacing. A semana inteira você ganha 50, numa coisa você perde 100.
Guilherme Araújo KGMK said, "Exatamente isso." Allison Racing said, Road America tomo muito off track isso Tommy Ferrando."
texto pra voz, falando de inglês pra português é muito engraçado. Tendo porra nenhuma, tem que ler tudo.
Gilher Marahujo KGMK. Said. Ganhei essa última corrida e ganhei 68 o carro me bateu ondim pretty 104.
Pô, a vitória é 68 e um DNF é. Tá vendo? É o dobro, quase. Não é o dobro, mas é. É pra caralho.
Allison Racing. Said. Isso e ingrato.
Por isso que tu vê os profissionais não correndo com a conta deles profissional, tá ligado? Ah, porra, tá fora aqui.
Gilher Marahujo KGMK. Said. Tin hake turha opko de eliminar o pai resultado da semana.
Pros iRating, né? Porque nos pontos do Championship dá. Ele pega 25% da sua melhor média antes. Então na hora de fazer uma volta decente aqui, uma volta ridícula. Tá legal. Struggling. We're struggling here.
You've just set your fastest lap of the session.
Mano, a BM tem uma rotação que eu vou te falar. Delícia. I absolutely love how much this car
Kev.
rotates.
Said. Hello.
Hey man, what's up?
Gilher Marahujo KGMK. Said. Jaga o frio mais pra trazi u colico 53.5.
Eu botei pra frente, na verdade, que tava meio que snapping. How's your week going, Kev?
Allison Racing. Said. EU quase comprei a BMW agora auco no grid so tem ela.
Tem que esperar pra comprar, tipo, em bulk, assim, que você ganha. Eu não sei como é que é na Steam, eu compro direto no iRacing. Aí você compra 6 peças e ganha desconto.
Kev.
Eu compro 6 e
Set.
6.
Good so far, just work and getting house stuff done.
That's not fun. That's not fun. It's safe. Let me try the brake bias in the other direction. Hold on. Let's see. Não abriu. I think I'll let like in 4th gear instead of going like back and then. Ah, off track.
No expected change in conditions.
Okay, thank you very much.
Kev said, I want to do some Road America GT4 before the next week.
Yeah, me too. I think I'm gonna come like earlier on Saturday. Ah man, like, let's take a break here. Let's watch the fast lap from the coach because I'm kind of like annoyed. I really like Road America, and I'm gonna do the 6 hours on Saturday. So I really want to see and feel more of the track. The problem is also like we're gonna do with the with the BMW or with the Ferrari GT3, and it's just like a different beast. Let's see here. The coach lab. It's in downloads. Gotta bring it. No. To the replay folder. Let's actually, let's watch it. Let's actually watch it. I don't know why it's defaulting to the to the Porsche. I just don't know. And you see, like, they're supposed to be, yeah. Last settings. Continue. No, that's not the last setting. Okay. No, wrong car. Replay. Let's see. I'm working on an AI project that's super cool, by the way. I'm working on a couple AI projects right now. Okay. Just 1 second. Far chase. Just 1 second. Let's watch it. On the white line, 50%. It doesn't go to third. Okay. Just a touch for rotation. Lift. Okay. I hate that part. Those S's. Wait. This was early. Before the okay, before the 100, 45%. Halfway through, 45%. Yeah, second gear. Okay, no curb. I have to be like very patient on the brake there. It's a different approach from the GT3, to be honest. Cool. Okay. So let's go back. And now let's load. I built an app. Don't know if you guys know that, an overlay app. So the way it works, I think I've imported the app. So the way it works, you load an IBT file, becomes like these overlays, you see, and you can choose the transparency. I put them right in the middle because then I don't have to be like looking for them. I can look at the track, and I have this light information there. By the way, I don't know if the link is in the description. It might be in the description. It's free. Like, it's in GitHub. You just download the app and use it. You just need like an IBT file. Could be like your lap, could be someone else's lap. The nice thing about it, that shows you real time what you are doing versus like the reference. So you know like how we look in the telemetry, and you have to kind of think like, oh, here's early, late, like these braking markers here, things like that. So he's braking here, going to gas here, and it shows with the telemetry view of like what's going on, and also the distance to the braking point into the gas. I feel like it's just easier than just watching the video, you know? I was trying to do like horizontal line, but iRacing doesn't allow for it. And right now tires are still good. You see, like, here on the brake slightly more than I did. Going the gas slightly earlier. All these things add up. still getting the tires where we want to have the tires at, so be patient.
Flightman said, "Hey gentlemen."
Hello, hello. We're back. Kevin is here, buddy. Behave. $14.4. So we're up to something here.
Flightman said, "I am a good boy, Alan and Kevin."
Here he's braking before the 100. This is a decent lap so far. Ooh, don't go off track, don't spin. I jinxed it. It was such a good lap, and I lost like 2 or 3 tenths.
Flightman said, "But sometimes I am a bad boy, I will admit."
Yeah, like this last sector, no bueno. Losing a lot of time.
Flat for you.
Flightman said, "You can get on power quicker out of the last chicane."
Yeah. But I think the problem is not like the last chicane. I think it's before that. There's a lot of time on the table here. I think we're losing time here. Over slowing down for sure. Like here there's an exact, like the darker mark. That's where we want to be. Yeah, this amount of understeering is going to be like brutal. Should do anything reasonable.
Flight man. Said. Alan, my wife's boyfriend, says hello.
Happy?
Sigma boy. Said. Hello sir.
Thanks, Kev. Here's like what I have to be very patient, which I was not right now. Cost me a lot of time on the straight. Off track. Braking earlier here than I am.
Kev. Said. I think your game audio is behind on stream.
I have not seen that yet. What do you mean, like the gears and stuff like that?
Kev. Said. Never mind, I just reloaded the stream and it's good.
Okay, perfect. Because if it was like out of sync, it would be the first time. I have no idea how to fix that. But I would stop and fix it. If something is wrong, we stop and fix it. The hardest thing to fix here is the driver. Everything else you can figure out, okay? Yeah, like once you get this grip part here, the car just goes. I feel like I'm over slowing down there, to be very honest.
You just set your fastest lap of the session.
1378. Getting better.
Kev said. Try to shift earlier. I think you are hitting the rev limiter off and the limit is 7200 RPM.
That's a discussion we need to have, to be honest. Because what I usually see, and I learned this with my app, is it right? Doesn't feel right, but data says otherwise. So whenever I hold slightly more and I let it like cut for a second bit, hold on. Okay. I'll show you. Well, the next. Okay, it was too slow. Whenever I hold a little bit bigger, I gain like not every time. I just screw it up. I feel like I'm over slowing down here. I don't know why. Maybe too hard on the brakes. But you see, like I'm losing 3 kilometers an hour. That's on my own thing there. 2. And if I go slightly later on them, but I'll do it. Maybe that's wrong. Like this, right? I just feel like I lose a little bit of speed. Ah, off track.
Slow down. You got a penalty for cutting the course.
These already helped me to give some insight into what I have to do. Now we take it down. Let me see. We want to see the delta. Okay. Our optimal is not that off. It's not good. But it's not bad. It's just a second off. Let's focus here now. Yeah. Lost a lot of time there for no reason. Oh, I hate this. I hate that hairpin. The most hateable hairpin. Let me... Oh, the brake bar is like completely messed up. That's why the car is so planted. Like you say, I think this is too much of slowing down. Let's see what we can do now. Don't let it cross the 7200. Yeah, like that second brake has to be earlier. I have to slow down before that. Let's go. Okay. Too much entry speed, not enough exit speed. I really wanted to put like a super fast lap. Let's see where we're losing the most. Yeah, like this brake's not enough, so it has to be like a little bit harder. Am I using... hold on, I know something is wrong here. Let me see one thing. Okay, we have like 20 minutes, should be enough. I don't think we have like 0%. I'm losing a little bit. 41%. I knew it. I knew it. So that's gonna change a little bit things, just a tiny bit. We'll have more grip. We will have more grip. All right. This is the first lap of the tires, so let's not do anything funny. brake balance like 55. It was like 54 last cycle run. Am I using a setup that I don't know I'm using a setup? You can see in VRS for sure. Let's be patient on the tires, okay? Too long. I think tires are good now. Can't complain about them anymore. Our best so far. That was a good lap. So let's keep pushing.
New fastest lap for
Okay.
you.
We're improving. 12.8. Hairpin. We have to nail the hairpin, okay? Let's... When you miss the grip part, like, you lose a lot of time. Like right now. Man, this stupid hairpin. Off track. Let me see if I'm
New
gonna lose a lot
fastest
of time
lap for
here.
you.
Oh, that doesn't count because I had off tracks. It's okay. This one's okay. You know what's going on? I know what's going on. I'm getting lazy on the pedal. We have a couple more laps. I'm getting lazy on the pedal. So I have to stop that. Alright. Man, like this hairpin is killing me. I'm gonna smash my foot on the brake. Oh, we can cut in that much? I'll take it. Okay, have maybe 2 or 3 more attempts. Let's make it. Ai, ai. This is good. This is good. I hate this hairpin. So let's go on the brakes earlier. That's it. Go on the brakes earlier. Stay. Off track. Okay. Let's do it. We can do it, okay? No. No, it was stupid. That like upshift was stupid. We can... Let's focus on this lap. This is the coach's lap, so... You know what? Let's take the delta off. I don't think this... No, this is not good. Like, we're always looking where we wanna go, okay? I just got distracted. Man, this is it. This is it. Focus. Focus. Absolute focus. Not good, not good. But I'll keep pushing, okay? Early. So last chance, let's commit to it. Let's just commit to it. too late. Coach is ready, so let's bring this back, okay? Should have lifted, but okay, garbage. Good. So our best is a 2.8. At least not that bad. Or like less than a second. In a 2.12, I don't think that's bad. Man. Getting old. Getting old. Laps. Let's leave on this one here. Bring the camera down and let's tell him already. Ready. Ah, yeah.
Good evening, Alan. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Yes, good, thank you, brother. Good, thank you. How's your week been so far, all right?
It's my birthday weekend or week, so
Yes.
can't complain.
Yes. That's good, that's good. Do you have any big plans?
Not really. Not really.
Not
Like,
really. Bit of a
wife
casual
is,
one this year.
yeah, wife's like 30, almost 34 weeks pregnant, so we are taking
Just
it easy.
taking it easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's good, mate. I mean, hey, birthday weekend, mate. Birthday weekend on the sim sometimes. It's,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
the
it's not a bad idea.
best way to go. Yeah, best way to go. It's the cheapest way to be as well. Sometimes, in all honesty, so can't go wrong. But yeah. Look, how'd you obviously get on through the rest of last week, and how's this week been for you? I've obviously had a little bit of a watch of your streams over the last couple of days. Obviously saw one of your races at Road America there, where you kind of clawed your way back through the field a little bit. But yeah, how's it been for you?
I think it's been good. So I just had one race actually in Road America because on Monday I
Yeah.
got here like too late, so I could just
Yeah.
do one, and then on
Yeah.
Tuesday was a league night,
Yeah.
and yesterday it was my birthday, so I wasn't racing
Yeah.
yesterday. So
Yeah.
just like one race, but I think it was good. I like them for I like we're trying a new car, like the challenges we have, like how it behaves
Yeah.
differently, and
Yeah.
it's kind of like a different mindset from how to approach some of the things or the challenge that we have during the race. So, for example, with the Porsche, I feel like whenever I am going around a corner, I really need to defend the corner because
Yeah.
if I'm not ahead at the end of the corner, I'm not gonna catch up
Yeah.
to the car in front of me. And I feel
Yeah.
like them too allows me a little bit more caution on the entry of the corner. As long
Yeah.
as I have like a nice exit, I can fight for that position. And Road
Yeah.
America is a good track for that. The other thing though
Yeah.
that I like we don't talk I don't even remember which track was it. Summit Point.
Mm.
So in the league I
Okay.
was racing Summit Point, right? So
Yeah.
2 heats, the first one 15 minutes. I somehow I managed like I think 12x and the limit's 15 to get a drive through. Was a 15-minute race. I collect like most of those in the first half. There's just like driving, cruising through, like was in a good position. Then someone crashed into me and I got a 4x, so it was a drive through and I lost like all the positions. But the first race was trash. But the second one, I started second to last, and I knew like I didn't have the fastest pace, and I knew I had to play smart. And it's a short track, so a lot of traffic, and I actually I surprised myself with the pace I found at the second race. But not only that, with like the almost like zero or minimal amount of time that I lost in traffic. So I was able to push my first stint as far as I could so I just
Yeah.
consumed the entire fuel tank. Because I also
Yeah.
didn't want to stop early if I didn't have to, right? Because I want to have like the least amount of fuel in my tank, like
Yeah.
as for as long as possible.
Yeah.
So I was just like put in my last lap possible, and then I went back, and I was surprised because I was back to like from 22 cars, starting 21, and I was like to I think P9. Then
Yeah.
someone crashed. I was up to P8, and then I was like, it's. I think you'd be proud of my overtake. It was a stupid move, but
Yeah.
I went for like a dive,
Y-
like very late dive,
Right.
and I got the position, so I finished P7. I was super
Fantastic.
proud.
Yeah, great. No, that's fantastic, man. Look, I um I think all these little things all kind of add up to a really big positive, I suppose, because again, it's all about, well, to be honest with you, sim racing is all about mentality and confidence. You know, I mean, obviously that's a big thing that I suppose we were learning. I think a lot mainly in the M2 there. You know, I think particularly that week that we had at Navarra, where it was a little bit of
Hmm.
a tougher week for us back at that period of time there. But you know, it's the moments like that that you kind of take forward and you kind of, you know, regain a little bit of confidence, and I guess you focus a lot on the mentality that you're kind of approaching into these races, and I think it's really good. And even to see, you know, the solo race you had this week so far at Road America, you know, obviously to see that, you know, obviously qualifying wise you didn't exactly probably put in, you know, the best lap that you probably could have done, and obviously it put you a little bit further down the field, but you stayed confident, you know, you stayed kind of, you know, mentality wise focused, and I think you kind of just, yeah, you obviously let yourself come back through a little bit, obviously worked your way through to get positive I rating increase, you know. So that's all you've really got to start to sort of work towards, that even in really crappy situations sometimes you've always got to kind of find the positivities in it, and the more that your mentality focus can be around literally just, you know, no matter what situation you're in, just being as positive as possible, I think is great. Because yeah, like nonetheless, man, I think we've got to always remember that, you know, like right now every track that we're visiting every single week is basically brand new, right? It's always going to be brand new, and the fact that we're literally staying and holding station at, you know, 3.5, 3.6 is pretty great, to be honest with you. I mean, you know, definitely you thought that, yeah, we would have been probably expected to go down into the twos and, you know, be down in the two and a halves and have to claw it all the way back once we kind of improved, but it's not been the case. You've just jumped in and kind of we're exactly where we started in terms of like an M2 performance realistically straight away off the bat. So I think the biggest thing is that, you know, this time round of this season it's going to be, yeah, it's going to be a big learning curve, and I think obviously, yeah, a lot of new tracks that you're coming across pretty much every single week there or thereabouts, and of course, you know, opening yourself up to the new idea of driving a lot of different cars as well. And obviously, that's not an easy thing to kind of take hold of either, but you can obviously see that, yeah, all of everything we learn is obviously coming to beneficiary of you now, and you can see that you're able to hold station pretty, you know, consistently in terms of what you're doing. But when we do think about the cars, and now that you've kind of driven, I guess, a rear engine and a front engine, do you have a preparation? Like, do you feel like do you prefer the front engine or do you prefer the rear engine? Are you starting to sort of feel like there's one that you would prefer to drive more so than not, or?
I think I need more time. You know why? Because
Okay.
these GT4 cars are kind of new, right? We just have been like starting racing them now.
Yeah.
But we drove like the old M2 for 6 months. So
Yes.
whenever I get into the M4 that has like a very similar behavior,
Yeah.
it has like that muscle built for 6 months now, and I
Yes.
just
Yeah.
enjoy more. Like even though the I used to hate in the beginning, I just enjoy
Mm.
more now.
Yeah.
The Porsche, I still have to think a lot about it, so I want to give like those types of cars more time, so I can really like
Yes.
get a maybe a couple months, so it's like
Yes.
a fair assessment.
Yes, yes, no, totally. Well, yeah, because obviously, I think the best way for us to go about this, because I was looking at obviously card choice. Of course, the thing with the BOP is that it's very hard to
Hmm.
make a judgment of what's good. To be honest with you, every single week, because you know, like the last time they raced at Suzuka was in like 2025 season four, which was a very long time ago. And back when they were racing there, they were in cars like the Mercedes, obviously the BMW. Obviously, the Ford didn't exist back then yet, so there was no Ford Mustang. So I was thinking of actually trying the Mercedes potentially this week, but I was kind of like the BMW seemed quite competitive around there, as I'm sure maybe the Ford will be as well. But I was like, what probably would be best for us to do from a, you know, a long term perspective is maybe we try and spend 2 weeks in every single car almost in a way. So we'll do like, you know, second week here in the BM. Next week we'll maybe go to the Mustang. We'll do 2 weeks in the Mustang. Then we might try and go do the Mercedes, 2 weeks in the Mercedes, 2 weeks in the Aston. And then the McLaren is a very interesting one because, like, you know, I do want to get your head around the McLaren, but I don't really want to put yourself in the McLaren if it's not going to be quick, realistically, because I'm sure there's not really been any case so far this season. You've really seen a McLaren at the front, to be honest with you. From what I've seen, I haven't really seen that thing be anywhere near competitive in comparison to everything else. So obviously we don't want to kind of, you know, as much as it is learning, we don't want to put yourself in a position where you're just genuinely on the back foot in terms of car choice, because it's going to make your life a lot harder than it needs to be. But obviously the thing with the McLaren is it probably is going to relate to the Porsche quite a fair bit, in all honesty. Obviously being a rear engine car instead of the front engine. So I think that's probably the approach that we should take in terms of just, you know, maximizing all the cars. And look, at the end of the day, as we do continue progressing through them, if there is a week that we, for example, do have the, you know, we do, you know, do our coaching lesson in, let's say, for example, the BMW, right? And the car that everybody's in this week is like the Ford. And obviously we've done, you know, already the Ford at a point. Feel free to then allow yourself to expand, you know, allow yourself to kind of go away from that car choice and actually try another car. Because at the end of the day, I mean, between all of these GT4s, once you understand how to drive, you know, obviously the front engine, once you understand how to drive the rear engine, they all thereabouts drive exactly the same. I mean, all the qualities are realistically similar. I mean, you'll find that, you know, the way that the BMW, as I'm sure you probably felt, is a lot more snappy on power. Cars like the Mercedes, cars like the Aston, cars like the Ford, they all have that quality, really, in a sense. They are all a little bit more snappy on power. Whereas, obviously, the Cayman, as we know, was quite smooth on the throttle, to be honest with you. I mean, it was always quite planted, right? So you'd find the same quality would be said for that with the McLaren as well, right? The McLaren is always quite stabilized, but typically is a little bit more understeery, where obviously these cars, like the front engine ones, like the BMW at you know, Suzuka, for example, is a lot more pointy, almost in a way, which is what you need, really, in a case, right? And obviously the gearbox is really, really good in this car because obviously, you know, you have that extra gear, having the 7th gear there, and obviously what that allows for is, you know, all the corners that, for example, you would be in the first gear in you know, any of the other cars, you probably would be in second gear in this car, or anywhere that you're in 4th gear around here, you'd be in 3rd gear in other cars, you know. So it just gives a bit of a better platform, I felt, almost in a way, the BMW around here as well. So I think that was a really good decision as to why we chose it there for this week. But yeah, I think that's probably the best way to do it. So next week, I'd say let's probably go and jump into the Ford Mustang. I think that's probably going to be probably the next kind of one that I want to learn, because I'm sure you've seen a lot of Mustangs in the races that you do, a lot of Mercedes as well, I'm sure. So yeah, very important cars to learn. But yeah, what's your thoughts on that? Do you think that sounds like a good little plan?
Yeah, I'm trying to see, like, here, just real quick, what's going to be the track for the following week.
Yeah, so I
St.
think
Petersburg,
it's,
not one that I know. Okay, it's a new track for me as
yeah.
well.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
I think it's a perfect plan. So
yeah,
I think we talked a bit offline about focusing on the goal, which is like becoming a better driver, and everything
yeah,
else like will follow. And
yeah,
I really like. I right now I have all the cars because I had to buy, I think, the BMW, so I just bought all of them, right? So I could
yeah,
get the
yeah.
15% discount.
Correct. Yes.
But I haven't tried the other cars during these races, mostly
Yeah,
because like, I want to stick to the plan right now and test it, and then I
yeah,
go to the next one. But as you said, like
yeah,
that helps build some, like, a portfolio of cars that I've
yes,
raced. Like we've discussed the
yes.
nuances of each car. So the Mustang's gonna be like different from the BMW, which is gonna be different from the
Mhm.
Porsche, which is gonna be different from the McLaren, and they're gonna
Yeah,
fall like in two different groups, but they are
yeah.
gonna have pros and cons.
Yes, of
And
course.
I think, of course, like after we visit all of them, and I have put like some races in each one of them, I'll
Uh-huh.
likely like one car here and one car there, and maybe like
Yes,
have
yes.
two favorites or three favorites that I want to race them more often.
Y-
So
Yeah,
that's kind of
yeah,
what I think we're gonna get. But I do
yeah,
like the idea of let's just rotate 1, 2, 3, depending
yeah,
on how fast I adapt to the car. We can go
yeah,
faster. If it's a slower
yeah,
adaptation, like we take more time. There's no need to rush, and
yeah,
I think this is
yeah.
gonna encourage us to have different discussions as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. And Yeah, I mean, from what I'm seeing so far, like you're adapting to these, well, you're adapted to this BMW really, really well, right? And again, I think it's naturally, you probably find you adapt to these front engine cars really well, as per, what we discussed over the last, 3 or 4 months realistically with the M2, right? So naturally, you're probably going to feel a lot more at home when you drive these kind of front engined versions of the GT4. Whereas the Cayman, I mean, obviously being a rear engine, we already had that discussion of, how we want to be approaching pretty much the back end of trail to the back on throttle, and basically saying that, yeah, I mean, you rotate the car more with the brake having a rear engine car, whereas you use the throttle more to rotate the car a little bit more, in a sense, with obviously the front engine cars, as we kind of did with the M2 back in time. But I think from what I can see realistically, it just looks like to me, and again, this is normal, but it's the tracks realistically that we're just trying to maximize, right? I mean, that's where the biggest differential between is, I guess, across you and I. So, I mean, we even remember when, we were in the M2. I suppose we did that first half of the season together before doing the rest of, the whole of the following season together as well. And, we remember we went to all these brand new tracks. We were learning, we were developing, and then we were learning the new tracks. But in this case, you're kind of, as a driver, you are, very highly developed in comparison to that point now. But now it's kind of like, okay, well, we've got a track like Suzuka, where you're doing like a very, very a very long lap almost in a way,
Mm-hmm.
and you're trying to kind of find where that 5, 6, 7, 8 tenths of a second is almost in a way in comparison. So I think it's definitely just a situation of, it's about learning how to maximize all these circuits and dealing with so many different types of corners, on all of these tracks as well, and that's really the biggest thing. But how are you finding it in terms of actually developing with these circuits? Because again, like I said, they're all brand new for you, right? I mean, you may not have seen them already before, or have a little bit of an idea of where they go, but how are you feeling about, jumping onto these tracks and developing? Are you finding that you're getting yourself, up to speed pretty quickly around here?
Yeah, so like Suzuka, I raced the 1,000 kilometers last year, I think. So I got some time
Okay.
here in the GT3.
Yeah.
There are some tracks. That's why I was looking next week's track or the following week's track,
Yeah.
because I haven't
Yeah.
ever raced there, which tells me I
Yeah.
need more time there. What
Yes.
I think, like, what I like about them being longer is
Yeah.
that allows, at least, like, I don't know how to say, maybe I focus more because I have more track to think every single lap. And when you're
Yeah.
somewhere like Lime Rock, that I have a handful of corners and you're like doing
Mm.
sub like a minute laps, it's
Yeah.
easy to get like distracted because we're doing over and over and over and over again. Um, but at the same time, it's harder to get better quickly here because it's such a long lap. So if it's a less than a minute type of lap, in half an hour I can put 30 laps, right? And in Suzuka I can realistically put like 12 laps, and that's if
Yeah.
I don't crash. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that's this difference. I enjoy these tracks, and like Suzuka specifically, there's one thing that I find interesting. I think Suzuka is one of, maybe the, I hate Suzuka by the way, but it's one of the most complete tracks because it has
Yes.
so many different things that you see like
Yes.
during the season. And it's all
Yes.
combined in a single track, and I think that's why it
Correct. Yeah.
annoys me so much. But it's a very
Yeah.
interesting track because of that.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. And yeah, it's a really big track in terms of, I guess, timing and momentum and track positioning as well. It all makes a really, really big difference, just all the little things that you do. And I guess that's always, the big topic of conversation that we always lean back on, right? We always talk about all the little things that we do different to each other, which can, yeah, cost you, 2 tenths, 2 tenths, 1 tenth, 3 tenths, whatever it might be. It costs you, just a little bit of time in certain situations. But I think, again, going through and seeing it from my end, and just kind of, analyzing it earlier on, I think, I can definitely see that, again, structurally wise, you're doing everything really well. And again, everything is kind of, I think everything is in place. I think you've got the kind of consistency, and you've got the idea that, no matter what happens, no matter what you do, you're always going to be doing a similar thing, right? Of course, maybe the only situation that it might differ or tend to differ would probably be, maybe if you're making a pass on somebody, you might put a little bit more pressure in to make sure that you don't, completely miss the corner if you've broken a bit later to achieve that. But otherwise, in terms of hot lapping, structurally wise, it looks like you're doing everything really, really well. I think, as we know so much, it's just about, well, how we always, applying that slightly differently to one another to achieve different things, I suppose, in a way. That's always a thing that I guess, is always going to be there to linger. But when we always have these weeks where we're within, 0.3% or 0.6% or, just under a percent almost in a way, we kind of got to say, well, realistically, the only difference is, okay, well, maybe you've washed off more momentum here than I have. You're losing a couple tenths, right? You might have done this a little bit more than I have. You gain about a tenth, But when we always think about this time, Alan, I mean, we got to be realistic with it. When we actually think about it, it does, seem like it's a bit, but in actual realistic sense, I mean, it's 8/10 of a second. It's literally less than one. Like it's like a click of your fingers, realistically, in a way, is the difference between you and me, if even that. So how literally having one little spot where you might overslow the car by 2 or 3 or 4 kilometers per hour, you lose time there. You might, for example, brake ever so slightly harder, wash a little bit more momentum off on the entry, you lose a little bit of time there, right? And when it all adds up to the end result, it pretty much just gives you the kind of answer of it's not exactly not exactly where you want to be in terms of the time, but it's a very small differential that literally you just got to say, okay, well, I got to make sure that this is the approach I have here, and I try and get that down packed as consistently as I can. But one really thing I saw that was great, and I love to see it from you, is that literally this lap you did here that I pulled up was literally your third lap, right? You didn't take you didn't take like 5 to 10 laps to get this lap down. You literally go on the track, and I think even there was a lap prior you did, I think, a 7, I believe, as well, but that may have had it off track, but you literally did that on your second lap, right? So are you feeling like the confidence to get the car to do what you want to do at the beginning of the stint or the beginning of the race is becoming a lot easier for you as well? Is that fair to say for you on your end?
Not so, like, I have to be fair here. So I just came today to practice, so I came a little bit earlier, and I put like a good hour going around the track, right, over and over and over again.
Okay.
And then I got to that point that I was like, okay, I'm not improving anymore, so I stopped.
Okay.
And then I looked like at your lap. I loaded the.
Yes.
I had already loaded the before, like the IBT file to see like what we're doing. So I quit that session to watch your replay, and then I went back, and that's why it was so fast. It was because I had spent some time. I was just relaxing, like trying to get back.
Sure.
But the 7 I had like an off track,
yes,
and I think that actually gave me some time, so I don't count that. Like they're very similar anyways, but I do feel like one of the things that I'm very happy with, and there are like parts that I still struggle a lot, like the hairpin kills me every single time, but one thing that I'm happy with is I have a decent amount of things that I think about how to problem solve when I'm struggling with something on the track. So in the hairpin, it's not going how I want, so like I try to brake earlier, I try to brake later, I try to use like less brake pressure, more rotation, less rotation. So things that before I used to go into like I just suck here and I'll suck it up and I'll just do my best not to crash. Now I really have a bunch of things that I can try, and I think that's from everything that we've discussed. I won't say that I'm being quick and getting to the track and finding the time yet, but I'm improving faster because I'm able to connect the dots and try different things as I progress.
Yeah, no, fantastic. And look, that's obviously great. And I mean, look, nonetheless, in whatever way that you ended up getting to that result, you got to kind of look at it in a sense of, well, you got there, right? You got there, and literally you jumped into a new session, you started driving, and you got to that result, And I think that's always the way that you've got to kind of look at it in the sense of, you literally just jumped into a new session and you did, 2 laps and you were straight away there, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of shows that, for example, on an evening of racing, if you do like an hour of testing, which obviously sometimes isn't really the situation, but you can kind of show to yourself, if you give yourself time to warm up and you obviously, like you said, you drive relaxed, you can see that you can very easily get your best lap of the week, or your best possible, sort of optimal lap almost in a way, very quickly, right? And if you do that in a qualifying session, or you do that obviously in a racing session, you do very well, right? Because again, you're right where you need to be. You're right where your pace is, and you don't really kind of feel like you're lacking at all, right? And that's obviously a really great sort of spot that you always want to be to, is that you want to feel like, the more as confidence grows, the more that you develop, you kind of want to feel like you can just get on to the sim, do a couple laps of testing, and then obviously just get into the car and get on the money almost in a way, right? And definitely it's the same case scenario for me, as much as I like to sort of say that, I can get into cars and just be on the money straight away, like, I think it's naturally just because from, the morning that I get up in the in the morning of the day to the point that I go to bed at night, I'm realistically there or thereabouts on the sim pretty much all day, and at some point in that day I have been driving, to some capacity. So whenever I do go and say, oh, let's go and do a hot lap here, or let's go and do this, let's go and do that, I'm already warmed up with driving almost in a way. Whereas, obviously in your situation, it might be, you have a long day, obviously you get on the sim at night time, and you got to kind of give yourself some time to kind of, reacclimate with everything and get back to, get back to the normal sort of, your normal proceedings and things. So, yeah, look, it's an interesting perspective to always look at, but I think, yeah, it's good to see that, that amount of time that it can take in, singular sessions to get to that kind of result or to get to that answer. And I guess the mindset as well behind how you get that answer too, I think that's obviously a very important thing. And to see that that's obviously taking strides forward, I think is important. And it's a very important factor of everything that we do because, yeah, the more efficient you can be, mentally, physically, and just, I think time-wise, in terms of how long it takes to get you to a result, is going to help you out really, really quite a fair bit. So, no, really, really good to sort of hear there from you. Now, obviously, in terms of lap time here, obviously, I think, yeah, the main areas, of course, are naturally turn 1 all the way up to, turn 9 really, in a way. So the first, I guess, sector and a half of the circuit, or I guess the first 2 sectors of the circuit, realistically, is where, I guess, the bulk of the time is going. And that typically is where, where I see typically majority of drivers lose their time is around here, and validly so, because I think, yeah, like you said, this track does have a little bit of everything, but, for a track to have, like, such consistent back-to-back long radius corners, like it does obviously through the kind of the snaky section that we kind of have here, as well as turn 1, there's not really, well, when I think about it, there's not really many, or if any track that kind of has any corners like that, to be honest with you. I mean, they are very, very unique in the way that they kind of, in the way that they work. I mean, obviously corners like hairpins, kind of just, big long radius kind of, one sort of stage corners almost in a way. We've been through a couple of them in our times. I mean, even just Road America last week has a couple of those ones, like the big long banked right-hander that you have can be probably related to the big long left-hander you have here at the back of the track, or, your hairpins. Obviously we've dealt with them, in a few different situations, places like Okayama, we've dealt with corners like that. But realistically, to have like a left, a right, a left, a right, a left, literally all back to back to back to back isn't really something that we've dealt with. So, is that something that you feel like you had to get acquainted to a little bit in a way, just trying to understand, I guess, how you wanted to take that section and I guess do it with a good bit of momentum and consistency wise as well?
Yeah, I think like for example, on the snake, it's a lot of how much speed you can carry,
Yeah.
without leaving the trail. Because once you make
Yes.
like a
Correct.
tiny mistake, you just destroy everything
Yeah.
else, and it goes from there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
No,
as you said, like
yeah.
there are other parts of the track that, even if you make like a slight mistake, it's easier to
Yeah.
fix it. And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's definitely costly in that sort of sense there. So yeah, let's run through. Let's talk about all these little sections. Obviously, like I think turn 10 would be considered as the hairpin, right? So obviously, you're mentioning you were kind of struggling with that a little bit, but to see that you kind of found a little bit of a better approach than I did is obviously great to see. So we'll have to discuss that there. But yeah, look, obviously T1. Obviously, what I can see mainly here, and I think it probably is just a little bit of VRS's end, but it seems like our lines on VRS for what it's given in terms of telemetry is maybe a little bit different, because, yeah, it seems like there's really, really big gaps between you and and I don't think that's the case, because I feel like I'm right on the edge of the circuit coming into turn 1, and it still says there's 3.8 meters of differential
Yeah.
between each other in that sort of stage there, so that might be just a little bit of a telemetry error. But turn 1, I think the big main area that I noticed that was, I guess, the big differential between you and I was obviously the trail off phase to obviously the reapplication of the throttle phase, right? Now, obviously, as we've been talking about, we do know that naturally we want to try and rotate the front engine cars a little bit more with throttle, right? And obviously that is our main differential between the two. Now, when we always talk about, rotating the car a little bit more with the throttle, of course, we always would think, okay, well, if you're, doing a rear engine car, you'll trail the brake for longer. If you drive a front engine car, you obviously, get on the power much earlier. But to be honest with you, it's not really the case like that, to be honest with you. The differential between how much longer you trail off and how early you get on the throttle it basically stays within literally maybe at a maximum, maybe a 2 or 3 meter gap, to be honest with you. It doesn't really expand out further than that almost in a case. So, when we look at a situation like this and you can see just how much earlier you're picking up the throttle in comparison to me, it's probably maybe potentially in a way, maybe just taking that kind of front engine, pick up the throttle early to rotate sort of concept, maybe a little bit too literally, and maybe just being a little bit too aggressive with it potentially in a way. But again, it could also potentially be stemming from you obviously braking a little bit harder at the initial point there, right, and having more so a 60% peak pressure instead of like myself in this case having a 52% peak pressure, for example. But structurally and timing wise, we're going about it basically identically. And the way that you're coming onto the brake, releasing off the brake, everything like that literally looks identical, to be honest with you. But it's just obviously the application that you've had slightly different potentially may in your mind have caused you to want to pick up the throttle a little bit earlier. And again, with that concept of knowing that the throttle rotates the car, you might have done it quite early. So what's your perspective when obviously we mention all that? Does that maybe relate to what you're feeling through here a little bit, or do you feel something different? What's your thoughts?
No, I think my issue there is that I'm over slowing down the entry, so I can,
Okay.
because, and it's just like maybe more practice. Because if you over slow down, if you under slow down the car, if you don't slow down enough, it's very easy to go off, like super off track, right? So I think I was being like overly cautious because I'm seeing like how much speed I'm losing on the top chart, and that's mostly the reason why I get so early on the power, because I feel like the car is stopping and I don't want to go like to third gear. So
Sure.
like I have to go to on the gas right now. And actually what it happened there is because I went early, the car goes a little bit wide on the exit.
Yes.
But it also, like, I don't know what happened. I just found like a very good grip there, and it felt very good. It felt like very fast on the exit.
Okay.
So even though like I slowed down too much on the entry, it felt like a fast exit. I'm seeing here I still lost a lot of time like on the entry part. But I think I was like more overly cautious to not go off track, and I can just like be braver, I guess.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, I mean, realistically, you can see that by you picking up the throttle that little bit earlier, right? You are picking up that minimum speed, quite aggressively coming out of there, which is obviously fantastic. But when we always kind of think about it from a gain versus loss perspective, it's always that case of, well, where the 2/10 realistically goes is through what happened in the initial part of the corner, right? That's where it always disappears, really, in the case. Obviously, you would pull some time back coming through that kind of on throttle sort of phase, but then you can really see from onwards from there, we kind of match each other up anyway. So it's kind of like you have a big loss, you have a little bit of a gain, but then we just both balance out almost in a case, and then you're down, just 2 and a bit tenths just because of that sort of input. So obviously it's good to see that you're exploring and you're trying different things out and you're feeling different things, because it is definitely a strange corner that it has a lot of like weird elevation and radii kind of sort of factors to it almost in a sense, and it does kind of slope down and it does continue rotating quite a fair bit. I think the more, from my idea with the corner, the more speed that you can carry in and the more momentum you can carry in, obviously it just allows you to make sure that you can really trail that car into the apex, and then obviously from there you can pick up the gas in fourth and feel quite comfortable. Sometimes if you pick up the throttle too early, what it can actually do is just naturally it will push you out a little bit wider, and typically you end up right out on that kind of left hand side exit curve, whereas I'm maybe ending up a little bit more central. Well, not really central, but I'm not really kind of making use of that exit curb, and it allows me just not to really get stuck on it, and I can just position the car over to the right hand side and flow my way through the following corners. So look, I think it's just a little minor difference, and again, it's crazy to see when you look at it from this perspective how we are yet so similar, but kind of it still loses you a pretty big chunk of time. I mean, realistically, over the entirety of the lap, it's by a couple thousandths of a second. It's basically this that is, second in line to losing you the most time, just from something so small. So try and continue to gain confidence here if you can. Carry more speed into the corner. So brake at the same point, right? Braking point's perfect. Just basically brake a little bit less, carry more momentum in, gain the confidence in doing that, and allow yourself to then obviously get on the throttle a little bit later, which will obviously just give you, to be honest with you, a little bit more confidence to just pick it up from 0 up to 100 a little bit more efficiently, rather than having to start it so early because you washed too much speed off, right? Does that make sense there?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Perfect. So yeah, no, really well done. Otherwise, because typically it's quite a tough corner to get right that one. So really, really good. Now, the sort of snaky section, right? So I think obviously this one feels like it's a bit of a start-stop. You know, you feel like you're on the brakes, you're on the throttle, you're on the brakes, you're on the throttle, you're on the brakes, you're on the throttle, right? It's always kind of on and off. Now, I think we've had a situation like this before, potentially at some sort of track. I don't remember where, but maybe what's coming to mind for me is Spa. That's probably where I'm thinking about it of. But obviously we haven't been to Spa, so that's obviously one that we probably haven't experienced yet. But there's a section there between turn 5 to 7. So once you come up Eau Rouge, once you go down the back straight and you come into it, it's basically a left, right, left, pretty much in a way, right? So it's a three-piece corner. Obviously, you come into the corner from 5, you hit the brakes, you trail, then you pick up the throttle. You lift off the throttle, then you're back on the throttle, then you lift off the throttle, right? Now, typically what I usually tend to see, you know, a lot of drivers do is that they have a really kind of main focus in those sort of sequences where they kind of have to, you know, hit the brakes, obviously get the car efficiently slowed down to the extent that they're able to pick up the throttle all the way to 100% because they've washed off that much speed, right? And when I've seen that, and obviously in my perspective of doing that in my time, what I basically see in comparison to, you know, two different deltas when somebody, you know, drives the car with less momentum through that, obviously that braking period to then get back on the throttle compared to someone like myself that might carry more momentum by braking less and then get on the throttle less as well because of that. What I find is that I always have a better delta differential. I'm always a little bit faster because that kind of bottom end momentum that I'm carrying in comparison always holds on. I mean, when you think about the previous corner, right? I carried more momentum in, yet I got on the power later. Who still went faster? I did, right? Because obviously I had a little bit more momentum. This is kind of the same situation where you're braking a little bit more than me to get more momentum washed off. So confidence wise, you feel like you can pick up the throttle all the way to 100% on every single one of the exits. Now, where you see for me through all of these corners, have a look at my maximum throttle range. Through the first right coming into there, I'm at 68. Through the left, I'm at 86. Through the right again, I'm at 95. And I'm at 94, right? In comparison to yourself, you're at 88, you're at 100, you're at 100, and you're at 100, right? But if you have a look at every single one of these minimum speeds, you're lower. You're basically about the same, so that wasn't too bad there. But you're lower there, and in the end, you're basically lower there, right? So basically 3 out of 4 times in this whole sequence, you're slower, pretty much at the apex every time, right? And we know how it goes when you're slower at the apex in comparison. That on throttle is basically a counter to you trying to gain back time that you've already lost. But we already know that in race cars, that once that time is gone for you, if you're comparing to someone that's carrying momentum better through those sequences, you're never gaining it back, really, in a way, right? If someone is carrying more momentum and you wash off more momentum, there's no chance that you're really gaining the complete amount of it back. You might be getting a little bit back, but you'll never gain the whole bit of it back, right? So the idea that you really still want to have through this corner, or this sequence, I should say, rather, is that you never want to basically be feeling like with your throttle, you have the ability to get back to 100% on your throttle. You want to feel like at a maximum, you get to pretty much probably anywhere near about, 96 to 98. You just never want to get to basically full throttle. You can simmer all the way under that, but you never want to basically get back to maximum throttle through here, right? Because what that will say to you is that if you have the ability to get back to 100% throttle without feeling like you're understeering, you've washed off your minimum speed too much in comparison, right? And that's obviously not the feeling that we're looking for. So this is something that, eventually at some stage we'll get to Spa. And, we'll be in a situation like that where you will be in that sort of same instance. And what it will obviously do for you is it will already have that idea in your mind where when you're carrying this speed through these kind of long momentum sort of based corners, you'll carry more momentum through the braking area rather than trying to regain the momentum in the throttle area, right? So what we need to basically do is for all of these braking zones, mainly the kind of second two, we just basically need to be braking softer, really, in a case, right? So the first one isn't really too much of an issue. You can see that instead of having a peak and a trail, you have a peak and a hold, right? So naturally, that's going to wash off a little bit more momentum for you, which obviously then means you can pick up the throttle a little bit more aggressively. Because you then pick up the throttle more aggressively, it causes you to have to they have to brake a little bit harder because you can see
Mm-hmm.
you're carrying more speed there, right? So you have to counter that. So you counter that. Because you've countered that, look how much speed you washed off. So then you pick it all the way up to 100 to gain it back to as close as you can. Then because obviously you're out of timing, it might mean that you can see you lift off less. You don't lift off for as long. So when you pick up the throttle again, you go to 100%. Coming into the braking zone, you go a little bit faster, right? Again, you have to brake slightly harder, have more volume in your trail, which obviously then loses you more time. And then your timing coming into the uphill left-hander again is a little bit deeper and you have to lift off a little bit more, right? So you can see that every input here basically is just a knock-on of itself, right? So can you see where we're coming from with this sort of sequence here? And I guess, you know, from your feeling in the car, are you able to feel that perspective of like, yeah, you've washed off too much kind of in the braking phases? Is that something that you're able to feel at all in your perspective now hearing this, I guess?
Yeah, I think so. So, as I said, like, I feel one of the biggest differences we still have is you are able to carry more speed, like in sections, sectors like
Yes.
this, just like overall, and it's because of
Yes.
the silly small mistakes that they end up like adding up. The way I feel
Yes.
about this corner is, it's easy to know when you're too slow because you're almost going off track on the inside,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
but on the other side, I feel like Suzuka is the type of track that if you're not where you should be, like on the track, on the black part of the track, or like on the lighter
Yeah.
part where you don't have as much grip, it's very easy
Yeah.
to lose a lot of time. So kind of like
Yeah.
trying to not over slow down, but not like get too much speed because you're going off.
Yes.
And I think that was kind of the game I was playing there. I think on this,
Yes.
I'm not. I don't remember if like the car was going too wide on the first one. That's why I went hard on the brakes to bring it back,
Right,
or what
okay.
happened.
Yeah.
But that's how I feel like. And this, it's such an annoying, at least from my perspective, such an annoying sector that you're just like
Yeah.
playing with the throttle, the brake,
Yes.
and sometimes just a lift. Sometimes like you have to go on the brake. I was trying to problem solve myself, and I
Yeah.
drove here with the F4. I drove here with the GT3.
Yeah.
I think some other
Yeah.
cars as well. And each one of them
Yeah.
has a different approach. Like when you brake, when you
Yes.
don't brake. So it's kind
Correct.
of the trouble there for me. But you're saying like
Yeah.
this, it helps me connect the dot to the actual
Yeah.
lap that I did, and it's like, yeah, I did. I indeed felt like I lost a lot of time there.
Sure. Yeah. So I think just to keep it nice and simple for you, almost in a way, Alan, let you just think about if you have the ability to get back to 100% throttle coming out of the apexes, you're going too slow, right? If I get back to 100%, I go off, pretty much in a sense, right? If you can only get back to, you know, anywhere between, you know, 85 to 95% back on your throttle, you've done it great, right? So just think about it in that sort of manner that you want to be carrying enough momentum through the apexes to not allow yourself to go to 100%. If you do make the mistake of going to 100% and experience it, you're not going to make the corner, really. So you're going to go off, right? So you just got to kind of look at it in that manner of we're trying to make an adjustment to get another little bit back, right? So yeah, something small, but I think will definitely help you out. So does that kind of answer your kind of questions a little bit through that whole sequence? It's literally just all about the timing through the first one. As we know, you know, momentum from the first part of the sequence is typically what then carries all the way through. So yeah, did you have any questions about that otherwise, or does that make pretty good sense to you?
I have a race question for you here, because I think it's
Okay,
going to be very
sure.
hard to overtake here.
Yes.
So like what I have to make sure is I'm ahead of the car if they're faster than me. Even if I'm like
Correct.
screwing up, they're likely gonna lose more time than if I'm behind them and they're just gonna open up.
Yeah.
What's like if I have to overtake someone? What's the best place to set up and overtake them in this sector?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Look, it's hard to ever make a pass through this snaky section at all, because the problem is when you're up behind someone, you're obviously going to be getting dirty air, right? And when we obviously know dirty air, it means that you're going to be having a lot of kind of aero wash, which means that understeer is going to be a big prominent factor to what you're feeling. So passing opportunities at this circuit, realistically, I mean, when I think about it, would be coming into turn one. It would be obviously probably coming into the final chicane, into the bus stop. It might be setting up a move coming into the hairpin if you're close enough, and it might maybe be coming into the long left hander if you can. So a couple, and even maybe coming into 130R off the long back straight, you could maybe try it, but I would never attempt to put a move on through here. Plus, you're just never really going to get close enough. I think that's half the biggest issue here, is that you're never actually going to get close enough to put a move on. So, yeah, just usually try and sit behind and again try and be as close as you can to set up a move later into the circuit. But yeah, I wouldn't ever really particularly think of probably making a pass into here.
Okay.
So does that answer it? Answer your
Yep, it
question a
does.
bit
It
there?
does. It does.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Perfect. So yeah, other than that, obviously moving forward, 8 and 9. So again, I think this is just typically, a little bit of timing here. So you can see obviously braking pressure wise, obviously you're braking a little bit deeper. But as we know very well, right? We know very well where does that stem from? It stems from all the way over here, really is in the case, right? Because you're already coming in 1.5 kilometers an hour slower, right? So mentally in your mind, when you're a little bit slower, what are you going to do? You brake a little bit deeper, but what do you then do? You brake a little bit harder, right? So again, naturally, I think the biggest thing is that when we kind of fine tune all these areas up, naturally from your skill, you bring things back to kind of work with what you're doing otherwise. Otherwise, in this situation here, I think it's really just a case of you felt in your mind you were going a bit slower, so you went a bit deeper. Obviously, naturally, you went a bit harder. Structurally, we were doing the same thing, to be honest with you. Structurally, we were doing the same thing. Now, naturally, because I broke a little bit earlier, obviously getting back onto the throttle, I wasn't as aggressive as you. I obviously picked it up to about 80, then I had to hold, then got back to full throttle. Whereas naturally, because you broke a bit later, you broke a bit harder, you could get back onto the throttle a little bit more aggressively. But then honestly, for the second part, by doing that, what you did, you didn't really need to do what you did under the second part. I mean, you obviously you were already naturally going slower, and then you broke still a little bit harder, right? So both of my braking zones here are both 46 and 47. Your braking zones are 56 and 61. Reason the case, right? So they're basically thereabouts 10% less than you in both situations, and I keep them consistent, right? So almost the way you can think about this corner, whatever pressure you do in the first part, do in the second part, right? Rather than saying do something in the first part and do something in the second part. So let's say you break a 50% in the first part, break the 50% in the second part. If you break here a 56% in the first part, break the 56% in the second part, right? And that's pretty much it. So yeah, any real comments about there otherwise? I mean, not a big chunk of time, but any comments from you about that little sequence?
Yeah, like the only thing that happened in the second part was I was trying to go a little bit earlier
Yeah,
on the gas, like as you can see there, because I felt
yeah,
like when I was lapping, I felt it was taking me too much time. Maybe because I had one
yeah,
great lap before that I
yeah,
nailed this corner, so I
yeah,
was trying to like bring in the time that I put the foot on the throttle to get like
yeah,
this higher exit speed.
yeah, yeah. No, exactly. So yeah, just try and think about whatever pressure you're putting through the first one, put into the second one, and that'll just keep it nice and consistent for you. But again, it all stems from what you do out of the snaky section, right? So
Yep.
it's all everything's linked, so we just got to kind of keep that in mind. But otherwise, yeah, really, really good. Now, T10, honestly, you just did it better, right? Now, one thing I will say to you that you probably realize a little bit is just because there's an apex there, it doesn't mean you need to hit it coming into this corner. Which is something that I realized when I did this corner on the particular lap. I was like, oh yeah, it doesn't feel quick through the corner. I think we're obviously always so used to hitting apexes almost in a way that in a situation like this where obviously the track towards the middle of the corner obviously radius is upwards and obviously cambers upwards almost in a way where it's actually sometimes faster to take the higher banked part of the
Hmm.
circuit and then get on the power. It's actually slower to go closer to the apex almost in a way, as I did really is in a way, right? But how do you get there? You just got to brake bloody later, right? Exactly as you've done. You just got to brake later. You've just got to commit to the corner a lot more, and you've just got to send it in, right? So you can see this was just a perfect execution of you just doing better. Really, this in the case. I mean, you got on the brakes later. You carried way more speed to the corner. You let the car wash out, obviously a little bit wider. And at the end of the day, man, after all of this, we still got back to full throttle pretty much at the exact same time, right? So again, this is one of those primary situations where I lose and I lose, right? I don't have a loss and I don't have a gain. I just have a loss and I have a loss, right? Whereas you have a gain and you have a gain, right? So this is obviously a situation I run into quite a lot with other clients is that there's a lot of these kind of losses and obviously it's always me a gain and a gain. But this is a primary example of you literally just, maximizing the corner. So is that what you kind of found with this corner as well? Just trying to, go in a bit deeper, cut it back a little bit later in the corner and obviously power on from there. Is that what you kind of discovered as well?
Yeah, I try a couple different things here. So I tried like hugging the inside curb. I tried going deeper and trying to have like a super late apex.
Yeah.
What I did find is ignoring the inside curb is
Yeah.
the better thing. What I'm
Yeah.
what I'm kind of struggling a bit is like getting consistency on the braking, because
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think like halfway we cannot see here, but I think halfway through the back of the or the end of the braking zone, I think I'm all the way
Yeah.
like in the ABS, right? Um,
Okay. Right.
so like
Yeah.
I'm pushing hard as well to get there, but that was actually
Yeah.
the most consistent way that I found to go around this corner. Whenever
Okay.
whatever I
Sure.
tried to do
Yeah.
differently, if I went earlier and less on the brakes, I was not going less enough, so I was under brake under slowing down or over slowing down the car,
Yeah.
and then it's
Yeah.
awful when you do this in this
Yeah.
corner,
Yeah.
and you don't wanna like have too much speed because it's very hard to recover that. So
Yeah.
that's kind of
Sure.
the way I found to be consistent. Go late, hard,
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
accept the fact that it's going to engage the ABS. And as it starts
Yes.
to engage the
Yes.
ABS, that's the time to start releasing and turning.
Sure. Yeah. And look, I think the whole ABS thing here, like, I don't think there's really a big workaround with it, unfortunately, just because you're turning. We're turning and braking the whole time. So this is one of those natural corners where you're always probably going to be getting into the ABS just because you're always turning. So there's nothing we're going to really do. I mean, from when we initiate brake pressure here, we're turning. We don't have a choice. We can't wait all the way until here to hit the brakes, really, because then we just miss the corner. So ABS always stems from here, really, in a way, right? It's from when you actually make that aggressive turn into the right. That's kind of where, then obviously it transfers to the left. That's where the ABS kicks in. So don't be too worried about ABS here, although, yeah, look, is it going to make it probably a bit of a negative difference? Yes, but it's just what you have to do, unfortunately. You can't work around it. So, yeah, this is one of those unique standpoint corners where you can't really do much about it, to be honest. So, yeah, keep doing it the way you're doing it. I need to improve here. I need to be a little bit more confident and going a bit deeper. So, yeah, no, really, really well done, and great to see that you're able to, obviously maximize that stuff from your knowledge. So, really good. 11 to 12, no worries there. So just, yeah, obviously, through the double right. I guess obviously from me maybe being a bit tighter, I can maybe just get a little bit of better jump onto this part of the circle, which maybe gains me a little bit of time back. But overall, on the maximum, you're gaining more time than me overall, which is all that really matters. So between these two sequences, so that's all okay. Turn 13. So this is kind of the same situation of what we talked about with the snaky section. So you can see you're doing this great here, right? You're not slowing the car down that much that you're getting back to 100% here, right? And once again, that's something that I see quite commonly through here, is that drivers slow the car down too much, so then they pick up the throttle to 100% through here. So you did exactly what we discussed that you need to be doing through the snaky section, really, in a way, right? So you slow down just enough, and you can get that throttle back to about 90%. Now, in saying that, the difference is that you are still getting back to 90%. I'm only getting to 82, right? So obviously in that sense, when you do look at the braking, you can see that your trail phase is a little bit more volumized than mine, right? Now, what that means, speed's a bit lower, right? What do? Get on the throttle a little bit more aggressively, right? So we're talking about the smallest of little differences that, when we talk about where a tenth of a second lies, it's in the little stuff like this, really, is in a way. That's where 1/10 of a second lies, right? And again, we think about how small 1/10 of a second is in the grand scheme of things, right? I mean, you can't even see it, you can't even really think about it. 1/10 of a second, goes by 20 times realistically in the time I say 3 words, almost, in a sense, maybe even more. But it's more so a case of, yeah, it's something that's very small, but that definitely does make a big difference. But I mean, overall with this corner, man, it looked okay to me. Otherwise, I mean, any real comments from you about here? Otherwise, I mean, it looks quite good from my end.
No, I think I think I know what I have to do like on the track. You use a
Yeah,
little bit more of the exit curb. I'm a little bit more afraid of
sure,
using that middle curb there.
sure. Yeah,
And then like
yeah,
also aiming for the inside, but not necessarily hitting the curb on the inside
yeah,
as we're getting
yeah.
up to the later part of the corner.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, look, nothing to mention there. Just like I said, it's a bit of a follow through from what we talked about at the snaky section. So, obviously 3 to 7 there. So just kind of apply the same process. You're doing it well already. But just allow yourself to maybe carry a little bit more momentum in the first stage, and realistically, yeah, nothing otherwise really else to say. So that's all okay. So no worries there, but really good job otherwise. Sector 13, so again, naturally just the exit. So yeah, you know, it's just about how you carry the momentum all the way through that sequence. That then, you know, that little bit extra full throttle that I can carry right at the beginning of the exit just will give me a little bit more beneficiary. 14. So yeah, this was an interesting one. Again, going down the fifth, I definitely did recommend. I did feel in the moment that keeping it in sixth. I tried it in fifth and tried it in sixth, and yeah, I remember just choosing sixth for this particular lap, and I was like, oh shit, I should have probably gone down the fifth. So yeah, fifth definitely the way to go. Again, it does just allow you to brake a little bit later, because obviously, of course, you're naturally using more engine braking. Well, you're using engine braking in comparison to not. So yeah, obviously, yeah, fifth is the way to go, so keep doing it the way you are. So yeah, that's perfect. I mean, structurally wise, we're doing everything the same. On throttle, we're doing everything the same. So yeah, you just obviously typically went faster there. And then obviously finally through 15 and 17. So this was just naturally you, I think, being a little bit later on the brakes. So yeah, again, this is a typical one of, again, compromise to kind of gain almost in a sense. So you can see here in the left-hander that you kind of have to drop the throttle all the way to 0 and then dab the brakes. Whereas because I've kept broken a little bit earlier, I kind of compensate for that area. And you can see I only have to lift down to about 7% with no brakes, and I can get the same result almost in a way, right? So again, where that 10th comes from is just obviously, okay, you gain the momentum in, but you lose the momentum all the way through there. And then of course you're losing it all the way to the finish line as well, right? So realistically, if you look where the lap time kind of goes, almost in a way, it realistically just is kind of from the exit, really is in the case, right? So it's the exit coming out of the corner, you lose it, you gain it coming in, but you lose it coming out, right? So you can see, have a look at this, see how much you gain in, but then see how much you lose out, right? So we started here at 7.7, we ended at 8.8. That's where that is, really see, right? So the exit is where you lose it, the entry, you gain it, but the exit, you lose it. So again, just try and sort of be a little bit earlier, bring the pressure down, carry a little bit less momentum in potentially so that you can carry more apex momentum and then actually allow yourself to get back on the power, right? So it's just these very, very little kind of things that, you know, all make such a really big difference in terms of these GT4 cars. And again, the same sort of situation occurs when we drive the GT3s as well, you know, going forward, and even cars like Porsche Cup 2. You know, they all make a really big difference to what you're trying to do and how you're trying to do it, and that's really the biggest thing. So yeah, Alan, look, I'm really impressed. You know, again, it's a track in a new car, obviously a track you probably haven't really driven before, I guess maybe comfortably in the way that we've learned to drive. Obviously, maybe, you know, when you last drove GT3s here, you were probably driving them in a completely different way to what you are now. So, you know, obviously, yeah, I mean, I'm really impressed. I think you can just see a few little, like, key. I don't even really think it's a structure thing. I think it's just more so understanding of how racetracks work in the way that how you actually want to take the most away from particular sequences or particular types of corners that you run through. Because structurally, like I said, we're doing really well, right? And we know what we need to do. I think typically in this situation, it's more just about, okay, well, these are the corners that we're coming across, right? This is the way that you want to make sure that you take these types of corners on different circuits in different sequences. Because again, like I said, somewhere like Spa that comes to mind, you'll be doing the exact same thing through, you know, a lot of those corners to get the same result, right? So yeah, I mean, look, any questions from yourself? Otherwise, does that all make sense to you? And I guess give you a few big key takeaways, I guess, for where you need to, I guess, adjust to find where that difference is between you and I.
Yeah, 100%. Like I think, in terms of immediate impact, I think I need to fix this last chicane because we're seeing like a tenth there, but it's also the entire straight that leads to turn one. It's a long straight.
Yes.
And this seems to be like the easiest one to fix because the snake is like going over and over like 1,000 times through there, trying to feel like I'm over braking and trying to connect the dots and not losing the track of the trail that I'm like trying to drive over as well. So I think the other parts are a little bit more challenging. I kind of I was surprised to see the hairpin that I'm doing like faster than you are because I was hating it every single time. So I'm glad I was able to do something decent there. But like overall, I think I have the 6 hour of Road America this Saturday. I'm excited for that. Next week is gonna be here. I think I'm gonna hate every single race, but I'll be here like and try my best and see what we can do.
No, for sure. I mean, look, it's always the way it goes. I mean, even for me in my journey, you know, it's always the trucks that I hate that I love, and there's the trucks that I love that I hate, almost in a way, you know. So it always tends to work in opposites. But
Yep.
yeah, like these races spread out a fair bit, right? So you know, obviously, what you'll find is, you know, if we can just get the pace to feel consistent and feel thorough and feel like you can hit your marks every single time, you basically qualify well and you'll just drive your race.
Yeah.
And that will really be. And to me, as you continue to grow and as you continue to grow your I rating, from a learning experience, I mean, are they probably the most, you know, experienced sort of gained racers? Probably not. But from a race car driving perspective, when you have a race where you're, you know, in such a good level of pace where you're just driving by yourself, those are the best races I find for me. I really love those ones. They're kind of the least pressure, where you can just drive your line, drive your race, and just get your rating and walk away. That's obviously sometimes the best. But yeah, obviously in terms of learning, it's always important to, you know, be around other cars and race other cars and stuff like that. So yeah, man, look, obviously best of luck with the 6 hour this weekend. If you have any questions coming up to that, do let me know about that as well. But yeah, otherwise we'll touch base next week, and we'll have a look at St. Petersburg. And like I said, we'll probably go and jump in something like the Ford Mustang and see how that goes. Because yeah, a bit of more of a boaty, boxy car will probably be a little bit more beneficial for a track that's a bit more bumpy, like that in comparison to, yeah, like the Cayman where it's a bit more bouncy, and the BM where it's a little bit more bouncy as well over those types of circuits. So yeah, man, look, we'll touch base next week. Obviously, once again, really well done. I'm glad to see that it's all kind of clicking and we're all making really good sense of what we're trying to do here. Again, just little minor things that we keep on working at, but yeah, looking forward to see what you think of the Ford next week.
100%. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Alan. Have a good night. Enjoy your rest of your week, all right? Have a good day.
Thank you too.
Thanks, man. Take it easy, bro. See you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Good stuff. Well, I'm surprised with the hairpin. Let's look my lap again. Just once more. So here we are. So I think we're over slowing down here. This felt good though. So this is good. Here's the overslow down, so like I don't have to worry about hugging the curb too much. Maybe just, let me see here. Here maybe just going like around, not on the curb. I think that's gonna be like the best. Because I can still come here, like you see the darker line. And this is decent, this is not bad. A lot of rotation of the car. I don't think this is bad as well. Like this is one that you want to be on the right side, because you don't have enough space here to open up to this left-hander, and you don't want to go on the brakes. You just want to carry the throttle. And this is actually like a good one. Got you 100%. Use the exit. Go. But I'm still carrying less speed than he is. Like he's braking here, I'm braking here. But because I'm trying to brake later here, I'm braking harder. Because I don't want to go like off track here, but I still have some more track that I can use. I think my right tires, they can be all the way on the curb, and that's still not enough track, or at least on the white line. And here I'm trying to go on the gas right here. See, like as I get, because there's a camber here. I don't know if you guys can see, but this is like the higher part, this is the lower part. So going on the gas early here, you just like glue to the track, and you can have like an actually decent exit. See, like not a bad exit. A lot of ABS here. This one wasn't bad. Like looking here from the outside, it wasn't bad. And it's a long, and there's like kind of again, like there's kind of a trail here. It's easier for you to feel like on the steering wheel, but if you get here, like all the grip is here. You see how I went wide there? Is because I was off the grip. And that's why he was a little bit faster. Like it's hard to see though. Somewhere like in here. And then you come like this. And you're gonna be like in here, closer, closer. And then in here. You see how much, like the huge mistake. That's what happened. That's why I lost so much time there. And then here. So we overslow down here, not because, like, because we're on the inside. So like I should have been like around here-ish to brake and have a better entry. And I can use all of this. Yeah, brake late, 5th gear gas. This was not enough track, believe it or not. You see, like, as long as you're on the curb with, like, your wheel, I don't know if it's 2 or 1, but like right now, we have 10% of this wheel here. If you look here, we barely have, can you see? You cannot see. Maybe this is not the best angle. Let me see here. I think this is good, right? You can see it now. So if you can see here, this angle is not good. Barely have the back wheel there. That was enough, not enough track. And then I got a chicane. Then getting super fast in, being over aggressive. Right now to 2nd gear. But because I was over aggressive here, now I have to touch the brake so my car turns left. Otherwise I'm gonna go like all the way here. And because he is slowing down significantly earlier, and he's super slow, he's super slow here compared to me, super slow. But then what happens is he's likely opening up here and lifting in, just the lift brings him here inside, and then he goes on the gas like from somewhere like here all the way like across this, cuts this in all the way to the finish line and more. Like, this is a long straight, that's why it's so important to do that right. Let's do just one more lap. I gotta go, but let's do one more lap. Just one more lap, okay? Let's see what we can do here. Let's see if we can put everything together. I'm sitting too far back on the... or too far forward. Okay, too late. Okay, go. Let me sit like properly here. Let's crash and do one lap. One lap and one lap only. Okay, what happened here, like, I felt the car losing the rear. Actually, it's a good brake balance, so let's skip it. Over slow down there, for sure. I don't think it's a good corner at all, but we shall see. This is kind of the trail that I said, like you see how closer to the right side I am right now. I did get a tiny off track there. I thought I could use more track than I can actually use. Let's see. Like that lap was really on the limit. Like this is not bad. Yeah, 13.6. Still not like. Two tenths faster. Man, I was much faster on the entry of the snake than I am on the exit. Garbage, right? Let's finish this lap and I'm gonna call it. So, if you haven't yet subscribed and you like this type of content, I race usually 4 times a week. I'm racing here. 2 times a week I'm practicing online. And today's the coaching session, so like it's usually the same time every single week. I come earlier, put some fast laps. Why was an off track? There was not supposed to be an off track. And yeah, like I also have an Instagram. Make sure you join that if you want to follow some behind the scenes. We have a Discord server that we talk. I've done like a very cool community racing once, which I really liked. So yeah, not quite there yet. Okay, and that's it, guys. That's it. I will be here back tomorrow, Friday. But before our traditional destroy the car. Because it's sim racing, we can do this. It's always fun.
It looks like you've got some engine trouble. You've probably lost some power.
Let's see. No, that's not what I see. I want to see the last one. I just love seeing like these things being destroyed. Oh no, this was like a decent lap. Okay. Here was the end of everything. Like you see how you touch the grass and the wheel goes crazy? You gotta let the steering wheel go. Ah, ouch. Good stuff. Well, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Yeah. Stay safe.